So we really appreciate you taking the time out to come and join us today for this discussion on disaster management. I'd like to now introduce our CEO, Mr. Jagannatha Kumar, to give the opening remarks.
We have moved beyond just being in the process of providing reliefs only. And as part of our disaster management work, we have been supporting the government, disaster management authorities and local bodies and so on, helping them do their work better even in the rescue operations and so on.
Post-disaster, very important thing is about that major livelihood for the rural people, about that livestock. We are also conducting about that lot of livestock camps, door-to-door step about that livestock treatment and medical camp, as well as about that crop management camps. And sometimes people does not know about that how to fill the compensation forms. We support that compensation forms. So you are also regularly emphasizing about the social protection schemes. That also is about creating the awareness to that people with the help of Nehru Yuva Kendra and other people, and also connecting various stakeholders like district administration, as well as about that panchayat leaders or district medical officers with that ASHAs, ANMs to take the lot of decisions. First time in Raigad landslide, we network of about that various ham radio people, as well as about civil defense, and also it's about retired army officials to support that NDRF for that rescue operations. So far we done about that 53 major disaster events, and it covers about that 300 plus districts and 22 states and 3 union territories.
We have certain aspects of disaster management which we'll cover through the team of experts who will be giving their insights and inputs on those aspects of disaster management. And of course, we'll have a session open for all the participants to further contribute their expertise and insights on the aspects covered during the presentation.
In the span of 10 years, the Reliance Foundation has contributed to management of 49 disaster events. We are only looking at the disaster events covered between 2013 and 2013 to 2022. Early warnings and livelihood advisories are regularly sent to 17 states. Another example of use of technology in communicating risk is the mobile application Machli, jointly developed by Reliance Foundation, Center of Excellence, Artificial Intelligence, Machine Learning Geo, and Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services.
We have very good examples in the country where we have the capacities at local level, we are able to manage any kind of disaster in a much effective way. But there are also other kind of stories where we feel that there are a lot to be done. So basically that presents a kind of a gap area where we have to have concerted efforts and collaborative efforts. And globally also the focus is on localization. Since they have been working in other verticals also, Reliance Foundation, like livelihood and these things. So they had good connectivity with local folks and more particularly in women population. So that also leveraged their strength. I would say that created a kind of a unnotional or unintended strength. So, and that supported their better response in case of disasters. Today, while coming to this venue, we saw that animal ambulance they sponsored by Reliance Foundation. It was moving just before us. And I asked, Sonali was accompanying me, I asked her to take few pictures of Reliance Foundation work, and we found some vehicles in Delhi. So, and then just to...
You'll find them in other parts of
the country. And just to check that whether it really works, the telephone number that was written on the vehicle, I asked Sonali to give a call. And she gave a call, and the person responded. They told that they have an office there in a defense colony. So I just wanted to share that.
Climate change straight away gets connected to the GDP, because the kind of events which are happening, it affects the coping abilities of the society, of the people, and then it affects the most vulnerable the most. They are affected in the most serious way. See, the second point which I like to touch upon is what Mr. Jagannathan said right in the beginning. Can we look at from a long-term point of view, building capacities in the society, trying to address the future generation. I think the private sector is one which can take a long-term view, and that, when combines with the government, then it can help develop a long-term kind of a vision, you see.
There is a very well-established school safety program in India. It's working extremely well in a number of states, and the number of states that want to engage in that program is increasing at a pace. So it started in Bihar, it's in Chhattisgarh, it's in Jammu and Kashmir, it's going elsewhere. And it's really been adopted and owned by chief ministers in those states. So where it's really owned at the top level of state government, it's catapulting. It's really, really going at a pace, and it's really being implemented very well. We're in a discussion with the National Disaster Management Authority and the NIDM about what the next generation of school safety programming might look like. And two key elements of that conversation are around road safety and drowning prevention.
Bihar has made a 4-day capsule course for veterinary doctors for their training in this field. And there are 1,000 veterinarians in Bihar. In 30 courses, they have trained all the veterinarians in Bihar. So Bihar in this field is the best prepared. Bihar was the first state after Kosi flood. They came up with a concept of VERU, Veterinary Emergency Response Units. And Bihar Veterinary University had a Veterinary Emergency Response Unit. There are some trained and knowledgeable professors who work in this field. And the VERU concept worked very well for the training and all that of veterinarians, paravets and all. And later on, in the next 3 years, 5 more VERU centers were started. They are in Palampur in north, Chennai in south, Anand in west, Guwahati in east, and Jabalpur in central. 5 more. But that happened next 2-3 years. After that, no more VERU center, Veterinary Emergency Response Unit Center, has been set up.
I think if you look at the 4 approaches, key approaches, which are gender responsive, which promotes multi-stakeholder engagement. We have seen from the Reliance Foundation initiative how it has been done, and how further localize it. Four component elements or 4 approaches. One is about the agroecology approach, which looks at the agriculture systems, the soil, the water, the livestock into one. The concept of One Health, which also looks at the diseases and other pandemics like COVID-19. Infrastructure resilience, we have been working with NIDM on supporting, inputting a multi-state project in resilience of the critical infrastructure, which includes health infrastructure and school, etc., etc. So how do we look at infrastructure resilience and this whole concept of green recovery? With NIDM, we have been able to put a green recovery framework and action plan, looking at the whole reverse migration post-COVID pandemic with focus specifically on UP.
In Germany, it's around 2% of the whole population are volunteers. If we think about 2% of India's population to be volunteers, what size it will come to? So let us not think too big, but the idea is, the whole point is, we need to increase our volunteer base. How can we incentivize them? Like, other countries have voluntary social year program or voluntary ecological year program. After, schooling or after graduation. If it is after graduation, you get an option. From the stream from which you have graduated, for example, animal husbandry it could be, or it could be, environment. From the stream you have graduated, you actually are contributing in the voluntary, ecological program or social year program, and getting paid through stipend or those credits you get because you've done that program, 1-year program, volunteer social year or ecological year. That credit you get actually is recognized by universities or higher institutions for giving admissions on merit.
There are 400 I believe it is Arise, spread out throughout the world. There are another 200 in the CCRI, Coalition for Climate Resilient Infrastructure. It is housing the world's largest insurance companies, the construction companies, the finance companies for banking and things like that. Combined, they could work with you here in India to address many of the issues that you are doing much on your own. The corporations are searching for somebody who can teach them and who can point them to both the community-led services, but also the business opportunities. And I think you are the ideal group to do that, and we'd be happy to join you in that effort.
In Super Cyclone Orissa, there are at least hundreds of villages in that area. The entire, because of the salt water came and the entire vegetation, everything was destroyed. So how these communities cope up? They cannot be coping with just handouts or other things. So your private sector have to step in. I am happy that Reliance has done something on geospatial, data hub other thing. But that is, as somebody said, also needs to be made dynamic other thing. How that thing can be connected other thing, and we have to create a platform where those informations, those best practice other thing can be shared.
I could see that you have been working a lot on warning and dissemination. What I could understood from the presentation. And you have been also working in building the capacity of the community. You are training the volunteers. I think it has to be done now on a scale, because we have to double up our efforts. It is being done at a district level, in one district, 2 districts in a state, but I think there is a need to do this at a scale. So that we are able to kind of, withstand this impact of the extreme weather events which we are facing nowadays very frequently.
We could look at a potential partnership or collaboration with the Reliance Foundation on areas of research and capacity building, where we bring in the UN system together, but we sort of structure it in an overarching manner with the UN sort of resident coordinator's office, because we have the ability to bring the UN system together in this space.
On the humanitarian work, there's a big problem as of now that we throw a lot of resources at people in terms of supplies, etc. But we have never, I think in India, we've never come to the point where we could see it as a service. That providing a service when people are displaced, when people are in stress. I'm really excited that you work on livelihoods. You should be known as a livelihoods organization.
In the time to come, the role of philanthropy will increase, and it will be a very, very important partner. Philanthropist organization would be a very important partner of the government, and they would complement the government's efforts. Our job together is to ensure that we are able to provide the kind of necessary support and assistance to the people who are subjected to these kind of risks. So we need to bring a little more critical point of view to all the tasks that we are addressing. We are working with the government. I would like to know, how did you find working with the government? How does the partnership, which we often talk about, work on the ground? As I, recognize and applaud the role of the, Reliance Foundation and similar organizations, I clearly see a huge role, for all these organizations to work and provide feedback, genuine feedback on how the systems work on the ground. How we can work together to alleviate the kind of difficulties the people are in, and they are in serious difficulties in many, many states across the world. And not just that, we also need to have a multi-pronged approach. I am so glad Reliance Foundation works on livelihoods, very, very important part of the disaster risk management. And all this should ultimately lead to greater resilience at the household and the community level.
Today has certainly given us a lot of potential roadways and pathways that we would be able to follow up on. And I think we're very much looking forward to talking to each and every one of you more, both over lunch, but over the forthcoming weeks and months, to see how we can take some of this forward. I think we've covered a broad spectrum from animals to children, to the importance of local capacity building, the importance of using technology, the importance of using strategic knowledge that the private sector can bring to bear, volunteers, the opportunities for more collaboration, both at the international level and at the national level, the importance of research, and I think lastly just two very important points, which is how do we take all of this to scale? And finally, I think ultimately, Dr. Vatsa's point, which is at the end of the day also remembering that first and foremost, all of this is about ultimately seeing that impact on the ground and how we can strengthen the resilience of communities and households to be able to bear through disasters. So thank you very much, everybody, and we look forward to continuing the discussion.